Dan and I are back to review the first episode of Season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race. We're a little bit late this week, busy schedules. We hope to be more on time next time, but here we are again with the Google Hangouts, and so we're going to talk about our favorite looks of the week, who we think are the most dusted and busted, and our predictions for next week's episode. The episode started with all the queens coming in, so my most dusted entrance look, I don't know, it was kind of a toss-up for me because I felt like Derek, Acid Betty, and Robbie Turner all had good entrance looks because they actually, like, their looks really reflect who they are and what it is that they do, more so than the other queens.
For me, my favorite entrance look was probably Kim Chi. I thought just watching all of these girls walk through the door for the first time, Kim Chi was the only one that really wowed me. I thought she was a showstopper. I did think it was a little too monochromatic, but give or take.
What she goes for, though. She, like, that was one of the things I think she even said in an interview, was that she goes for that monochromatic look.
Give or take a little detail like that, I still thought she put together a good look, and I thought it really screamed Kim Chi.
Yeah, of my top 3 picks, I'm gonna say Acid Betty, just because she had that extra wow factor, which is just kind of inherent in her look. Of the most busted, though, I would say Miss Layla, based on her shoes. That was the big thing for me, the Skechers. And I liked what Robbie Turner had to say about her shoes, her footwear. Who was your most busted?
My most busted was Naisha. Just that weird feather thing with the long black hair, she kind of just drowned in it.
Yeah, I think that was a comment that even like Matthew made during the photo shoot, was that you couldn't really see her. She was getting lost in her own look. With the photo shoot itself, I would say my most dusted was Derek, just because, I mean, she created that super iconic look, and she really, she was the only one who went back there and used any props. And she, to me, really, it looked like she made the rest of the queens just like fade into the background.
Mm-hmm. I definitely thought for the photo shoot, Robbie stole the show.
Yeah, she was another one. She like got down on the floor, and I think it Untucked, wasn't it? Who was it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But someone even told her, like, you did something more creative than just like standing in front of the queens.
As for most busted of the photo shoot, mine was definitely Naisha. She just kind of got lost.
Mine was Layla, because her pose not very flattering, and like Matthew said, it's like you're like shrinking into it, like you should be standing out among the queens. That was the whole point of the photo shoot. So she was my most busted. In the photo shoot then of the former winners, my most dusted was Violet. I thought she really stood out. When I like looked at the photos of all the queens, so many of them were black or neutral colors, and like she came in a really bright color, really intricate. I mean, she really stood out to me, and she looked like a winner, and some of the other ones did not.
Violet, hands down for me. I agree with you. I thought she was the best looking former winner. She came out wearing violet, and then when they did her talking heads and you could really see her face, she looked
detail, yes.
stunning.
My most busted for the former queens in the photo shoot was Chad Michaels. It was kind of a toss-up for me between her and Tyra, but I felt like Chad Michaels really could have done better, so that's why she's my most busted.
For me, and it's not like any of the former winners were busted. It's just that some looked better than others. Right. The one that really didn't catch my eye very much was Sharon Needles, which says a lot because she's my favorite queen of like all time. I thought she just got upstaged by everyone else. So then they get presented with a challenge, a design challenge from the previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And previous queens come back to present them with those challenges, so we're going to go over how those queens looked when they presented the challenges. So who did you think looked the best? Who was the most dusted?
Well, See, I'm not a very good judge of this because I don't really remember a lot of that particular thing of like what all the challenges were. But one that really stood out to me was Morgan McMichael. Some of it was because she shot Robbie's name out of her butt. But I really do like her look, and I think since Drag Race, like she just caught me by surprise, and maybe it's because they showed more of her face or something. But I thought she painted really well and looked really good.
I thought the best looking person who presented a challenge was BB.
Who was your most busted in terms of the former queens?
I think I have to say Latrice. Just that hair didn't do it for me. There was nothing that special about her outfit. She just kind of faded into the background, which is hard to say about Latrice Royale.
Yeah. Well, I had kind of forgotten that she was one of the presenters, so that says something about that too. Yeah. I don't really have a most busted because I don't remember all the looks that well, so I don't want to say anything to make anybody upset. So I'm just going to abstain from that question for now. The challenge was to do a former challenge, which I thought was a cool idea because they're like celebrating their 100th. That's fine, but it also makes it difficult for it to be like an even playing field. Like even just from some of the former challenges we've seen, like it's a lot harder to do a challenge based on a dog than it is to do one that's like clearly a sewing challenge look.
Mm-hmm.
And
like even Bob was saying, you got the curtain challenge. They're ugly curtains, but at least you got fabric to work with.
Exactly. And so that was interesting to me. Of the runway, I thought the most dusted was Acid Betty. She had the Moneyball challenge. And I don't know that any one of the queens like really wowed me this first time around, but the craftsmanship and like the attention to detail it would take to make that dress out of money, and like it was so detailed. And so that was the one where right away it caught my eye. It reminded me of when Lanisha Sparks did the dress and it had like the whole ruffle over the shoulder and it was all made out of wallpaper. So I just thought that was really cool.
For me, I think my most dust. I'm gonna get that mixed up all the time. Most dusted this week was Thorgy. She had the cake couture challenge and she did red velvet cake. So she came out with this lace gown, like from neck all the way down to the floor, sleeves, and she had this big white hair to be like the cream cheese frosting. She even had like a prop. I thought she just looked amazing.
She looks good enough to eat. I'm so in love with Thorgy right now. Like I think I texted this to you or like messaged you this. She has the most adorable smile both in and out of drag. I'm so in love with Thorgy. I really want her to go far. So it's been really fun to see more of her.
Yeah, and I just love from like the moment she walked in to like the very end of the episode, she was still staying true to that whole like I'm just here to have fun. Mm-hmm. She was so much fun to watch.
Right. My most busted would have to be Naysha. I know a lot of people are upset that Naysha went home and not Robbie, but I agree with RuPaul.
It was unforgivable, especially this being the 100th episode, for her to stand up there and say this is the first thing she's ever sewn.
Yeah.
And she didn't even make a back for it. She literally only made a front for it.
I know.
The whole time she was just talking about like how she thinks she did so well. She doesn't deserve to be here. And I can kind of tell it's that pageant ego. Mm-hmm. She won this Continental, but that's not going to carry her through this competition.
Yeah, I thought that was more unforgivable than Robbie's. Robbie's at least was more complete. And I don't even remember what the theme was for Naysha. What did Naysha even get?
Drag on a Dime.
Okay, well, even like if you compare the two challenges between her and Robbie, like the dog inspiration I feel is way harder to do than Drag on a Dime, because Drag on a Dime, the whole purpose is to not know that it's cheap. Like just make something, anything. It's very much open-ended. You can do anything you want besides that. And then like with Robbie's, it's like there's like a freaking poodle. Like and didn't you tell me like the poodle was making all kinds of a mess on the runway when they were filming?
Yeah, something like that. I think I read that somewhere.
I just feel like there's more elements at play with Robbie's, and at least
even just thinking back to the first episode of Drag Race, which was the Drag on a Dime challenge. I'm just thinking of what they put together, and they were mostly pretty good. And then I think about the Bitch Ball episode, and they were mostly pretty bad. So
Terrible. So we're only one episode in, but I think the shadiest queen of this week's episode would be Bob the Drag Queen. Now, I love Bob the Drag Queen. She had some hilarious moments when they were in the workroom getting ready and stuff. Like, she would be so much fun to hang out with. But then when we got to Untucked, I felt like she was the one who kept like needling for more information and kept asking really pointed questions. And then she did the whole thing. She was like, oh, since we didn't get any judges' critiques, let's all stand up and like critique each other's outfits. Like, why? I don't know. It just seemed excessive to me. So she seems to be the shadiest queen so far, in my opinion.
to me, I think it's Derek. But I think Derek is kind of the opposite, where she's not really the instigator. But when shade is being thrown, she'll throw it back tenfold.
Mm-hmm. She also, I think she came across more insecure than she really is. She was definitely the most defensive right off the bat, which for me is always kind of a damper on everything. I don't like that. I don't like insecure queens. I don't like cheap queens.
Like manly queen. Layla and Naisha ended up in the bottom two with their post-apocalyptic and their Drag on a Dime challenges. Lip sync was applause by Lady Gaga. And honestly, if this had been a double elimination, I would not have been upset.
Oh my god, me either. It was so boring.
That's all I have to say about that.
All I have to say about that. I know people were all up in arms of, oh, you made the wrong decision, but no. I think RuPaul got it correct. Didn't your quote of the week come from from the lip sync?
Yes, my quote of the week did come from the lip sync. It came from Kimchi's talking head, because Naisha had a very unique style of performing, and Kimchi likened it to a soccer mom cheering for the kids, saying, "Come on, kids, score goals."
Yeah, that was, well, and especially anytime, and this is not meant to be shady, but anytime Kimchi speaks, kind of funny. Because it's not soccer mom score goals, it's soccer mom score goals.
Donut come for her, though.
Oh my god! And the like hyper cheesy puns. Oh my gosh.
I really like Kimchi.
I do too. And then my quote of the week comes from Michelle Visage. I think when Kimchi was coming down the runway, because somebody said it was like Sasquatch or something, because she had the fur challenge, the wig, the hair one. And then Michelle goes, Yeti that walk. And I just thought that was really funny. So that was my quote of the week. My dusted of the whole week. I think Kimchi, and while she wasn't my dusted in anything else, she was more consistently towards the top. So like she wasn't my most dusted of the photo shoot, but hers was still pretty good. And then she wasn't my personal most dusted on the runway, but her look was really good. So she's gonna be my most dusted of the week.
I agree. I liked her entrance look. Her photo's still pretty good. She won the challenge. I mean, Kimchi knocked it out of the park this week. And I don't think there's any question about who my most dusted is, or most busted, because she is my most busted in every category.
That's right. Bye-bye, Miss Continental. So, yeah, she's gone over the rainbow, and that's fine. Next week, singing challenge, Evolution.
We watched the first 10 minutes of next week. And so far, unless someone really, really, really wows me next week. My most dusted is Thorgy, because she goes off on a 2-minute tirade in her talking head about a certain queen who no one likes and who no one wants to work with. And I don't just mean on the show, I mean in real life too. And I think it just takes a lot of nerve to do that.
Right. She was talking about Acid Betty because they show how in some of the clips Betty is like trying to take over and tell people what to do, even though she's not the team captain or whatever. And Thorgy said, you know, there's a reason she doesn't work in New York. This is just going off of what we found in our research. And like these are the queens who are the singing queens. So Chi-Chi DeVayne, Cynthia. I think Robbie will do a good job because she's more of a live theater person anyway. I'm hoping she can kind of redeem herself and dodge the shady editing for this next episode. And I think Thorgy will also do really well. In the bottom, Kimchi, just because I don't know how great she's going to be with the jigging and the jabbing. And Miss Layla, I also put in the bottom. And then Acid Betty, because even if she's good, I feel like because she's going to be so difficult to work with, that's going to like overshadow anything that she actually...
It'll be like the wedding challenge all over again.
Keep burning yourself, bitch.
Just goes down the line. Do you think I'm a bitch? Do you think I'm a bitch? And Layla, I think Layla's going to be in the bottom. I hope it's a good episode because I really want to get back into Drag Race and have good episodes to watch. I haven't rewatched season 7. I do know that I want Cynthia to go home so badly. She can take her cuckoo and fly on out of here.
She has to be careful that she doesn't try to overproduce herself because we all know what happened to the last queen who tried that.
It was her moment, though.
Well, I've had enough of that. But overall, like, a couple queens aside, I feel really good about all the personalities. Like, I feel like after the first episode, even in our research, the ones where we were like, I don't care for this one, I feel like I've found something to like in every single queen.
I agree. Definitely.
When you find something that you can love about every queen, that's what really makes the show awesome. Like, that's what makes it entertaining.
Definitely within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I started to notice some of my predictions falling by the wayside. Definitely what I thought I knew about these girls was definitely different. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out and see how opinions change.
I'm like excited about Drag Race again, kind of like you were saying. So after episode 1, that's where we sit.
Anything else for the good of the order?
I don't think so. Well, that's all we have, and we will see you next week.